Classic WoW is a massive game with a lot of secret items, abilities and mechanics in the game that you guys probably did not know about. Whether you are a new player to Classic WoW or are a veteran player, hopefully some of the tips on this list are things that you never knew about. So with that being said, here are 10 amazing tips and tricks in Classic WoW. Starting off at number 10 is 2 potion cooldowns. So everybody knows that after using a potion, it gives you a 2-minute cooldown before you can use it again. Now all potions of all types, whether they be minor health potions or major mana potions, all have a 2-minute cooldown after using one of these potions. Meaning that if you use a health potion, you cannot immediately use a mana potion after. You have to wait 2 minutes as they share the same cooldown. However, what if I told you that there was a potion in the game that you can use that doesn't share the cooldowns associated with every other potion in the game? There is an item called the Whipperroot Tuber, which restores between 700 and 900 health. On first glance, this doesn't look very good, as most people would assume that this is actually associated with the cooldown of every other potion in the game. However, this is completely separate from those cooldowns, meaning that you could use a Whipperroot Tuber and then use a mana potion or a health potion immediately after. In essence, this is a bonus health potion that you can use, and a lot of high level players take advantage of this hidden mechanic. So how do you get these Whipperroot Tubers? As these are only bind on pick up. If you go to Felwood and you speak to this NPC, you can ask her for a Cenarian Beacon. When this NPC from the Cenarian Circle gives you the Cenarian Beacon, once you kill any mob in Felwood, you have a very high chance of getting an item called a Corrupted Soul Shard. Once you collect 6 of these, you can trade them into this NPC and get Cenarian plant salves. Now with these salves in your inventory, you can actually hand them in to one of these plants in Felwood and then you'll get a unique reward. Obviously, if you go to the Whipperroot plants in Felwood, they will give you some of the Whipperroot tubers upon handing in the plant salves. There is also another plant in this area called the Corrupted Songflower, where if you trade the plant salves with this plant, it will give you a 1-hour buff that will increase all of your stats by 15 and give you a bonus 5% chance to critical strike. As you can imagine, a lot of hardcore raiding guilds will take advantage of that buff, and also take advantage of the hidden mechanic of the Whipperroot Tuber. Okay, so number 9 on this list is opening doors without a key. So in Classic WoW, a lot of dungeons are actually gated behind a door that you need a key to unlock. There are quite a lot of examples of it, such as Stratform, Scarlet Monastery, and Scholarman's. However, what if I told you that you don't actually need the key to open up these doors and enter the dungeon portal? So in Classic WoW, there is a mechanic where you can traverse through any locked door or gate if you're a ghost. Blizzard created this mechanic because obviously once you're a ghost, you can't actually use any items or interact with any objects. So they had to put this mechanic in the game so that people don't get locked outside the dungeon when their group dies. So you yourself can take advantage of this. You can pick a fight with an alliance and hopefully they'll kill you. You can die from falling damage or get killed by NPCs outside of the dungeon. Either way, once this happens, you will actually be able to traverse through the locked door when you are a ghost. Okay, so number 8 on this list is the bandage trick. You will inevitably get quite a lot of cloth drops while playing the game after killing any kind of humanoid. Now the auction house prices for these stacks of cloth is really not that much compared to what you would get from selling it to an NPC. So a lot of people will rather just sell it to an NPC and not have to deal with the auction house and the fee for listing an item. So if you're in this camp, stop what you are doing right now, because there is a way to get a lot more money from NPCs by selling bandages instead of the raw cloth material. A stack of rune cloth sells for 80 silver each. However, when you turn this stack of cloth into bandages, it sells for 1 gold, meaning that if you take every stack of cloth that you have and used first aid to turn them into bandages, you are essentially creating more value when you sell them to an NPC. It takes 2 stacks of rune cloth to create a stack of heavy rune cloth bandages. However, 2 stacks of rune cloth only sells for 1 gold and 60 silver. 1 stack of heavy rune cloth bandages sell for 2 gold. And as far as I'm aware, this actually applies to all types of cloth and bandages. Whenever you turn cloth into bandages, you are essentially increasing the value of those items that you can sell to an NPC. Okay, so number 7 on this list is single mobs out. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys have come across this situation where you just want to kill a named NPC, however they're surrounded by a pack of mobs that will aggro if you attack that mob. Everybody has been in this situation before. However, there is actually a way to single that monster out and not have the surrounding mobs around it attack you as well. And pretty much any class can do this as long as you have a ranged attack. So the way this works is that we will be taking advantage of the leashing system in Classic WoW, where if we do a ranged attack on this monster, then run away and do another ranged attack, the distance of that monster's leash will be increased, whereas the other mobs that aggro does will run back. This is because if you continuously attack a target while it's chasing after you, it won't actually run back. However, if you don't attack a target and you just leave it alone, it will eventually run back and leash back to its original position. By taking advantage of this mechanic, you can essentially take any monster away from its pack and single it out. By using this trick, you can essentially save yourself from dying and getting in incredibly difficult encounters when you're in the questing and leveling experience. So number 6 on this list is 3 dark runes. So guys, any high level caster DPS or healer is going to know about dark runes. These are essentially like a secondary mana pot that sacrifices your health in return for mana, and they drop from Scholomance, and to be honest go for quite a lot of money, a couple of gold each, but they are incredibly necessary for some mana based classes that absolutely need to use them when they're in a raid to stay competitive. However, there is a way to get a free version of this that does the exact same thing and doesn't cost you any gold but just time spent farming. In Felwood, there is a place called the Jadefire Run that has a bunch of satyrs that have a decent chance of dropping an item called a demonic rune. These demonic runes essentially do the same thing as a dark rune, just that they're bind on pickup and you can't resell them. However, if you're a mana based class and you're struggling with your gold, this might be a pretty good way to save some money on not buying dark runes from the auction house. These guys also drop Fellcloth, which is a very good item that sells for quite a lot of money on the auction house. But the most unique thing that they drop are the demonic runes, and as far as I'm aware there's not many places that you can get them in any kind of consistent way, except for the mobs that you can find at the Jadefire Run. Number 5 on this list is the BLACKROCK Mountain shortcut. So any person that is level 60 or high level 50s is going to be going to the BLACKROCK Mountain quite a lot. Blizzard just put a ton of really important content in this tiny little zone. There are so many dungeons and raids in here that you'll be coming here all the time if you're playing Classic WoW at a high level. Now if you want to go to BLACKROCK Depths or the Molten Core, you essentially have to walk down the chains and go through the structure, and to be honest this walk probably takes like a minute and a half. That's assuming that you don't die along the way due to world PvP. There is a way to actually get a shortcut and avoid all of this. If you enter the BLACKROCK Mountain from the Searing Gorge, right in front of you there is like a little place that you can jump down and not die. If you jump down here and recover your HP and then jump down again, and you can essentially go from the entrance of the BLACKROCK Mountain straight to the Molten Core entrance pretty much instantaneously. Number 4 on this list is Jousting. So what is Jousting? If any of you guys have played a melee class in Classic WoW, you guys will probably have realized how important it is to time your auto attacks right. When your auto attack is on cooldown, you can essentially do whatever you want. You can move, loot items, cast a spell, and it won't affect the cooldown of your auto attack. Now to do this properly, you definitely need to install an add-on that can correctly time your auto attack's cooldown. By doing this, while your auto attack is off cooldown, you can move around and turn back when your auto attack is off cooldown. By doing this, you can essentially move around while attacking, and some advanced players can actually use this in PvP to their advantage. If you have a slow two-handed weapon, you can essentially walk away from an enemy while it's slowed and go back in when you can use your auto attack again. The term hamstring kiting is an example of jousting being used to a player's advantage so that they can take less damage from targets but still attack them with full DPS. You have to be kind of skillful to take advantage of jousting in classic WoW if you're a melee DPS, but I highly recommend any paladin, warrior or enhancement shaman to look into this, because once you get the hang of jousting, it becomes extremely useful. Okay, so number 3 on this list is increased camera distance. So in the default client for classic WoW, you cannot really zoom out that far. If any of you guys have been watching some streams of some high level raiders or PvPers, you guys may have noticed how far they zoom their camera out, way beyond the point where you could do it in a default client. There is a way to change this, and it doesn't really require any add-on or modification of the game files. It's fairly straightforward. By typing this in game /console camera distance max zoom factor 4, the distance that your camera can zoom out is increased by an extreme amount. When your character is zoomed out this far, you can have a lot higher situational awareness, where you can see everything that is going on around you, and you just get exposed to a lot more information compared to what your camera would see if you're zoomed in too close. When your camera is zoomed out this far, you can essentially see behind corridors, any member of an opposing faction that is trying to sneak up on you, and will just give you a lot more situational awareness. Now, the reason why I don't use this myself is because I don't think this looks very good on videos, so I always have the camera pretty close to my character. But if you're playing the game yourself, having your camera zoomed out very far is going to be advantageous. There is a reason why high level WoW players zoom out so far. It is because it gives them an in-game advantage. Okay, so number 2 on this list is lava jumping. If you guys have ever heard the term lava jumping before in classic WoW and wondered what this exactly was, this is actually a pretty interesting mechanic in the game that you can take advantage of. Now, if you guys have ever been in lava in classic WoW, you guys will know that lava hits pretty hard. Within about a few seconds, your character will die due to the fire damage. However, the way that lava works in classic WoW is that it can only do fire damage if you're actually in the lava. If you jump out of the lava when the lava damage ticks, and it sees that your character is not in the lava, you won't actually take any damage. So to take advantage of that, you just have to spam the jump button, and you can essentially swim across lava and not take any damage. As crazy as this sounds, this actually works pretty well, and there is a run of BRD that has a shortcut that requires you to jump across the lava to skip some of the trash mobs. Okay, so last on this list is the MC shortcut. So everybody knows that Molten Core is the first raid that you have in classic WoW. Molten Core is a giant raid with a lot of trash mobs, and to be honest, gets kind of boring when you're just killing the same mob after another. There is a way to cut down on the amount of trash mobs that you can fight in Molten Core by taking advantage of a shortcut that is directly in the entrance of Molten Core. By jumping at this specific spot, you can actually land on this ledge and walk across it and jump down on the other side, essentially saving you about 5 minutes of killing trash. Now, this is quite well known in the classic WoW community. However, for a lot of you guys that are new to the game and you guys didn't know about this is a famous shortcut in classic WoW that can save time of your guild. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel. This is vaulty, signing out.